So we are now ready to get started. Welcome everyone. So tonight's webinar topic is a career in event and wedding planning right for you? So hopefully we're able to answer all of your questions tonight. My name is Joanne and I work with QC Event School, and I'm going to help facilitate this webinar. We also have Mireille, and she's also with QC Event School, and she's going to be collecting all of your questions that we'll then answer at the second part of the webinar. And she'll also help troubleshoot any difficulties if anybody's having trouble hearing or seeing different parts of the webinar. And of course, we have our expert of the hour, Candace Coppola. Candace is the owner and creative force yes, behind Jubilee Events, a Connecticut-based event and wedding company. Her work has been featured in Bliss Celebrations Guide, Style Me Pretty, Wedding Chicks, 100 Layer Cake, and many, many other popular publications. Jubilee Events was also chosen as one of the top 50 planners in the U.S. by the Bridal Guide magazine. And last but certainly not least, we are very proud to say that Candace is actually part of the QC family. She works with us as a tutor and a course contributor. So a very warm welcome to Candace.
Thank you so much, Joanne. That was so nice. I want to also introduce myself a little bit more. As Joanne mentioned, I am a tutor at the QC school, and I've been a tutor here for about a little over a year. And prior to being a tutor, and currently I do own my own business, Jubilee Events. Our website is eventjubilee.com in case you're interested in looking at our work and seeing my team. And we plan events really all over. But the majority of our events take place in the Connecticut area where we're based and the tri-state area. But we have clients from all over the world, and we also do destination weddings. And aside from weddings, we also plan a lot of different things. We plan social parties, bar and bat mitzvahs, and we also do corporate events, product launches, things like that. So we have a really diverse portfolio in the work that we do. It's not just weddings, it's also events. I wrote a book. It's called The White Dress in Color. It's available on Amazon. And in addition to all of those amazing projects, I am also launching a Caribbean branch of my business and have made a big leap in moving to Barbados, an island in the Lesser Antilles. So that's very exciting too. So in addition to my business in Connecticut, I'm also launching a destination business in Barbados.
That's fantastic, Candace, and I'm sure everybody's excited to learn about what the career is really like. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to cover career overview, then go into your skill set, then cost and salary. That's a very, very popular question. And lastly, what the first year is really like. So now, to get to know you all a little bit better, we're going to launch our very first poll. Okay, so we have a poll on the screen. If everybody could please respond to that question. We are asking you, what is your current status in the event planning industry? So, okay, so we have all our answers. So we are going to dive right into career overview. Okay, so Candace, what have you got to say about what the career is like, sort of who you'll be working with?
Sure. So I think you can break it down into 3 sections, which you've done. So first and foremost, if you're going to be working in an event or wedding planning field, you're going to be working with couples, especially for weddings. And this is going to be a diverse group of people. Our clients range from same-sex couples to your traditional man and wife couple. So with in choosing a career path, for weddings, that would be one. You could work for a business. I work for businesses. So that is more of the corporate side of event planning and wedding planning. And working for businesses can be anything from someone launching a product. Let's say somebody's launching a perfume, or a designer's launching clothes, or even a business is launching a new part of their business or a new sector of their business. Those would be event planning paths that you can pursue working with those individuals. Or you can work for nonprofits, and that's doing event plannings for charities and other nonprofit organizations.
Okay, great. Well, Candace, could you maybe tell us who do you like to work with the best?
Sure. Well, I would say, honestly, all. I mean, I enjoy having the ability to work with a variety of different people and also work on a variety of different events. I find that sometimes you can get burnt out in working in just one straight field, so it's nice to at least have the opportunity or the knowledge to work in other areas of event planning, and not just weddings. But the bulk of my business is definitely weddings, and I really do enjoy working with couples, and not only couples, but their families on their weddings, because it's a really rewarding experience to be part of someone's personal history in a big way, and being a part of their wedding. And we really get to know our clients in the wedding side of our business very well, and we really get to develop some fantastic relationships with them and also their families. So I would say that's the most rewarding, but I really do enjoy having the opportunity to work, in all facets of event planning. In our quick poll, we asked, which avenue of event planning are you most interested in pursuing? And 67% of you guys said that you wanted to do everything, which was wedding planning, event and wedding planning, event decor. So you wanted to do it all. And I think that there's a popular misconception that you have to sort of do one or the other. I think that it is great if you want to specialize in one of those things, but there is an opportunity to do all of those things so long as you're passionate about those things, all of these different career choices. And also there's a demand for that in your area. So I always say that you can't be everything to everyone, but if people are asking you to plan a launch party for them or plan a special event for them and do weddings, I think that there's opportunities to do all of those.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Okay, well, let's move on to your skill set. So, Candace, what do you think are the most important skills to have as an event and wedding planner?
Right. Well, I think being a great communicator is number one, and that's here. Being a great communicator is absolutely essential on so many different levels for being an event planner, no matter what type of event that you're planning. First of all, you have to be able to communicate effectively with your clients. You have to be able to listen to what they're asking of you so you can produce what they're looking for. And you have to be able to communicate effectively reasonable expectations that people can expect from you. And also you have to be able to communicate with those that you employ or hire to work on your event. And by that I mean additional businesses that you're recommending and then working with on your event. So that can be anyone from a caterer to a florist to somebody who's handling all your audio or your visual for an event. You have to be able to effectively communicate to all these different people. So being a great communicator, I think, is one of the most important things in having a good skill set and being an event planner. The second I would say is being organized. So I think that maybe goes without saying. You have to be an organized person in order to plan and prepare an event, no matter how large the event is or small. And organization and your systems and your processes are very important. Having a defined way of doing things so that it's consistent with all of your clients is extremely important. And being organized is a way that you can facilitate that. So organization is key in everything, and it trickles down to every facet of an event. You can walk into an event and tell if it's disorganized or organized, and I believe you can do that by just looking at the event planner and seeing how stressed out they are. Will tell you how organized they are or how disorganized they are. So being organized is absolutely essential. The third would be very outgoing. You're going to be working with a variety of different people in a variety of different settings. So being outgoing is extremely important. And you also have to be confident in yourself, which is part of being outgoing. And if you're an event planner, no matter in what field you are in, you're also a salesperson. So if you're in sales, you also have to be tremendously outgoing. You're selling yourself, your business, or the business you're working for to prospective clients, and that means that you need to be extroverted and outgoing. And then the last one here is persistent, and I think persistency is key in so many things in this field. You have to be persistent in business, in seeking out new business, in building your business or building the business that you might be working for. And you have to be persistent in working with your clients and other vendors. Literally, I would say maybe 50% of the time, my job is to constantly follow up with other people on things I've asked them to do. So being persistent in following up and making sure that things are done is absolutely a skill set that you need to have in order to become an event planner.
So Candace, tell me, were any of these difficult for you at first? Like, were you always outgoing, or is that something that you had to get good at over time?
Well, I think some of these qualities are inherent. You are or are not a great communicator. For me, I was a great communicator, somewhat organized, very outgoing, and if I have my eyes set on something, I'm extremely persistent. So I would say the one thing in here for me that was a challenge was just being extensively organized and developing systems to maintain my organization. So, I think it depends on the person, but I struggled with being organized in the beginning, but the way I tackled that was developing protocols and procedures and ways of doing business, working with clients, working with vendors, how to organize all the information I receive for an event, how my information is organized when I am at an event, orchestrating the event. So there are all different facets to being organized. So that was something that I had to work on personally.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Okay, well, why don't we see what kind of skills our attendees have by launching our next poll. And this one is about basically which skills do you currently have that would really help you out as an event and wedding planner. So we have just about everybody voted. Oh, and it seems like we have a lot of great communicators, organized people, outgoing, and persistent people, so that's great.
Well, that's great because really all these qualities you really need in order, I think, to effectively get the job done. So I'm really glad to hear that, and I'm glad to hear we have so many people who are extremely organized because I think that's so very essential in this career, and especially being a good communicator. So I'm so glad to see that everybody has a lot of the skills needed.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. That's wonderful. Okay, so we are about to dive into cost and salary. So that's a really interesting topic. But before we start, we do have another poll. So this one, we want to ask everyone, how much time would you expect to invest in your business before you take off? Before you see it take off, rather.
Awesome. So in the poll results, 0% of people expected their business to take off under 3 months, which I'm very pleased to see. To me, that means that you don't have too many unreasonable expectations as to how much time you want to invest in your business before you see a lot of growth. 2% said 3 to 6 months. 49% said 6 months to 1 year. 37% said 1 to 2, and 12% said more than 2 years. So I would like to share with you a little bit about my background and how long it took me to work on my business and gain my first client. And then I think I have a really great answer to this question as to how long you can expect it to take. So when I started my business, I actually took an entire year to build a business plan, to come up with a name, a marketing strategy, to understand what my market was like, and to build a website and a brand before I launched it. And that year is really critical because it allowed me the right amount of time to understand what I was getting into and to build a really great foundation for my company. And if you are a current attendee at the QC school, and if I am your tutor, you will hear me talk a lot about a business plan, which is so important. Aside from that, when I launched my business, I was pretty aggressive in my marketing, and I networked quite frequently. I launched my business in the month of June, and I didn't receive my first client until the month of December, who was getting married the following May. So it takes quite a bit of time to build what I consider to be a successful startup, and it's also going to take quite a bit of time for you to actually gain your first client. Now, you may have an entirely different experience than I did, but that's just my experience. So with that said, to what I think the correct answer is in this poll is, I think the last answer, or even going beyond just 2 years, your business always needs your attention and your investment, whether it's time, whether it might be money, whatever the investment is that you're giving, your business will always need that investment. No matter how many years you've been in business, no matter how old your business is or how young, it will always require your attention. And there's this really great book that I just want to mention really quickly. It's called The E-Myth Revisited. And I read this book when I was beginning my business plan, and it became sort of the thought process for me in starting my business. And there are a lot of premises in the book, but the one that stuck with me the most was that if you own a business, and let's say you're an event or wedding planner, people often have a tendency to think of themselves as an event and wedding planner. But if you own that business, you're a business owner first and an event and wedding planner second. So it's extremely important that you understand that you should always be working on your business and not just in your business. And if you don't do that, there's a huge percentage of small businesses that fail because they don't work on their business, they do the job within their business. So it's really important that you realize that for a successful business, to gain success, it's something that you constantly have to work on all the time.
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes perfect sense, and, you know, it's also considering the competitive landscape. You always have to stay one step ahead. You obviously have to keep up to date with the newest technologies, the newest marketing channels. So, yeah, it's sort of, it's never ending, really. It's just continuous improvement. It's great.
Exactly. Yep, exactly.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so next we are going to get into, actually it's another poll. I know we have lots of polls this webinar. We want to know what hourly rate would you expect to make as an event and wedding planner?
Yeah, so the majority of people, which is 28%, expect to make between $30 to $40 an hour, and I would say that's probably also the average based on all of the answers. So, I mean, I don't think that's unrealistic, but, you know, it really depends on what your market is. So, your geographical area, your level of experience. I think it might be a little high. Working for a company may prove to be different in salary than if you own your own business. So it really depends. You know, based on, I think, quite a few factors.
Okay, great. Well, let's get into the different facets of costs and salary. So starting with, what are the startup costs?
Well, every business is different, but I find that owning an event or wedding planning business, the startup costs tend to be pretty minuscule. You have to think about budgeting for things like your business brand. And I would encourage everyone to consider hiring a professional company to build you a business brand based on what you envision your business brand to be. So there's a cost associated with branding, and there's also a cost associated with website design and business collateral, things like business cards, any kind of pamphlets or newsletters or other size cards that you might be handing out. So those are some startup costs. In addition to that, you have to think about overhead costs. You'll certainly need to have a phone line and things like that, which are pretty minuscule. And you may need to invest in some equipment, and that could be a computer or software that might aid you in completing the job that you're looking to do for your clients. And then you also have to consider advertising and marketing. So those are all different expenses that would be considered in your startup costs. And every business is different, and everyone has different investments that they're making in the start of their business. I think I invested $5,000 into the start of my company, and that money was invested in all of the things that we just talked about. Now, you can certainly invest more, you can invest less. It just depends on what you have put aside to invest in your company, and then also what you are paying for all those certain services. So for business and branding and website, you could do something extremely inexpensive, and that doesn't mean that it's going to be to your best interest to do something expensive, but you could do something inexpensive or extremely expensive, which may not also be in your best interest as a startup. So there are a lot of different options to choose from in just business, branding, and marketing in terms of startup costs. But I would say the average person probably invests maybe $5,000 into the start of their event and wedding planning business.
And how long, over what time frame would you be spending that money? Does it all sort of happen within a couple of months, or is it over a year?
Well, that depends on what goals you've set for yourself. So if you've set deadlines for yourself that you want to launch your company within the next 6 months, then I anticipate you would spend a large amount of that within that time frame. I think the biggest expense you'll have will be your branding and your website. And the least expense you'll have will be in marketing if you choose to really understand how to market via social media, which is essentially free. And it's really just your time that you're spending marketing your company via social media. So, it just depends on how long you've set for yourself to build your business and how you'll spend that money.
Okay, so you could do a gradual start if you wanted to do that. You could say, I really only have maybe $200 to invest per month, or whatever that number may be. It can change.
Right.
So it really depends on how quickly you want to start your business. Okay, that's great, Candace.
I just wanted to also mention that, I understand that, for any economic reason, money may be a factor in not launching your business sooner. But I do think that you should never rush into making any decisions where business is concerned when you're starting out. You should take your time and be thoughtful. And if that means saving money and waiting until you're able to afford certain business things that you want to invest in to make sure it's done right the first time, rather than doing something incorrectly and then having to do it all over again, which will end up costing you more money. But regardless of that, it's really important that you take your time and be very thoughtful about where you're investing your money, and you don't have to make any huge decisions on money investments in terms of marketing or anything like that quickly. You can take your time in making your investments and deciding what you want to build for your business, and being really thoughtful about all your ideas and your business plan and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, to really think out each step and to have a pretty good idea of what the success will be once that particular effort has been put into place. Yeah, that's great. So next on the list is a biggie. How much can I expect to make? So that sort of goes with the hourly rate. But could you give us a rough idea of how much you could expect to make sort of on a yearly basis once you have your business established?
Sure. So that's based on a lot of factors. I think the best way to answer this question is to maybe tell you how best to price yourself, and how I think, you can go ahead and price yourself so that you can make the most amount of money and work different revenue streams. So you have to remember that in working for yourself and working in event planning, we're going to talk about being a business owner first, and then we can talk about working for another company. So you have to remember that you are taking on events yourself, and there's a limit to how many weekends you have. There's a limit to how many events you might be able to do a year. And in the first year, you may only get 2 or 3 clients, or you may get 5 or 6, or you might be extremely successful and very fortunate and have a full calendar. So with that said, you need to think about pricing yourself. And the best way to do that is to take a look at what services you're offering your client and determine how long you anticipate it's going to take you to execute all of those services. And this can be a rounded figure. You might say for a wedding, it's going to take you a total of 250 hours. And that's everything from meetings with your client, meetings with your vendors, answering emails and telephone calls, coming up with to-do lists and a variety of different things that the client needs, being on site on wedding day, having your additional staff there to help. So that can be all of that 250 hours. And then also consider how much you'd like to make an hour and multiply that by the number of hours you anticipate it'll take to get the job done. And there you will have at least a starting price. Now, this may go one of 2 ways. You may look at it and say, oh my God, I might not be able to ever charge that. It's too expensive. Then maybe you need to reevaluate 2 things: how long it's taking you to accomplish what you're setting out to do and what you're charging. Or you may look at it and say, oh my goodness, that's not a lot of money. I need to make more. So you need to then look at how much you're charging and raise your hourly rate or raise your flat fees so that you can make more money. So how much you can expect to make in owning your own business is extremely subjective. It depends on a number of factors, including your overhead, your expenses, what you are charging for your services, and how much business you're actually doing. But it's something that I think after the first year of doing business, you can really begin to understand what you need to do in order to meet your bottom line, which would be your cost of living and your cost of doing business. And it's going to take you probably a year to figure that out. It may take you more, it may take you less, but I think that's a good benchmark. Now, if you work for another company, that's also very subjective. I think that with different levels of experience, obviously there comes salary increases. But I think to start, you can anticipate to make anywhere between $15 to maybe $25 US an hour, depending on the company that you're working for. You could work for a hotel, you could work for a nonprofit, you could work for a catering company. There are a variety of event planning and wedding planning positions that exist within companies that already exist. Or you could work for a company like mine, which is a small business. And I mentioned earlier, I don't know if that actually came through, but in these instances, I would anticipate you would make somewhere between $15 to $25 an hour US to start. And that leaves room for you to grow into your career and into your position in those different avenues.
Okay, that's great, Candace. Those are really good answers. I think from what I got, it seems like you really get out what you put into your business if you have your own business. And if you decide to work for somebody else, you're looking at starting $15 to $25. Great. Okay, so we are actually at 7:45, so I just want to make sure we're able to cover all the topics. So we're going to jump right into the next poll, and that is, how many clients would you expect within the first year of business?
Yeah, 60% of people expected to get only a few clients in their first year of business, which I think is realistic. I really, really appreciate that small 2% who say, I'm going to get tons and I'm going to get business left, right, and center. I think that's a great attitude, and I'm so glad that you have that attitude. It's a positive one, and you just want to start your business and go out and, you know, get as many clients as possible, and I think that's how everyone's mindset should be when they start. But I would say realistically, probably a fair amount. Between 4 and 6, I think, is what you can anticipate in your first year of business. I think that you should take a limited number of clients your first year in business, regardless of how many people are beating down your door, because you want to give yourself the opportunity to succeed. And being new in business means you're learning a lot of things as you go along. So it's really important that you give yourself enough time to work on your brand new business, learn your new career, and then also give your clients the best experience.
Absolutely. Okay, so we are going to jump right into our next section, which is, what is the first year like? So Candace, can you go over this for us?
Sure. So the first year, as I think I mentioned a little earlier, it takes a little while to get clients. Everyone is different. I think it depends on your market and how you're marketing yourself. But I would say anywhere between 3 to 6 months would be average. And how likely you are to find regular work if you own your own business is dependent upon how much you put yourself into looking for regular work. So you have to remember that clients are never guaranteed. There's something that you have to constantly be looking for. If you're looking to work in the field and work in someone else's business, I think there are a lot of opportunities for you. There are a lot of hotels who are looking for event planners. There are a lot of fantastic catering companies. So depending on where you live, of course, I think there are quite a few opportunities for you if you so choose to work for someone else. And the last part of this is, when will you be working? Well, if you own your own business, you'll be working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I say that there's really no differentiation between me and my business. We're almost the same person. I am my business and my business is me. So I may be working on a variety of things off the clock, you know, after 5 o'clock. That could be business initiatives, marketing, catching up on reading, or working on my website, updating my portfolio, responding to emails. I work all the time, no matter where I am or what I'm doing. I'm always thinking about my business, and I always have that in mind. If you're working for another business in this field, you can anticipate, I think, to have unique hours. You're going to be working on weekends and certainly holidays, and you're going to, you know, have to, I think, work outside the scope of just a typical 9 to 5. Events and clients require you to be a little bit more accessible and a little bit more available than, let's say, you know, a job where you're not working in this industry. So you should be mindful, whether you own your business or you work for a company, that you are definitely going to be working weekends, and you can expect to work a variety of different hours. But I think the fun part of this is that you get to, when you own your own business, make your own hours. So I can choose to work late and then decide that I'm not going to start work until a specific time in the morning, or vice versa. I have the ability to take Mondays off. My office is closed on Mondays. So I have a lot of flexibility with my time and work. And I'm able to do things that I love to do for myself and work when I'm feeling inspired or when I need to get things done. So just to recap, you will be working weekends, nights, and holidays for sure if you're an event planner. And depending on if you own your own business or not, if you do, you can anticipate to be working on your business and in your business literally all the time. But I find that people who are really passionate about what they do and passionate about running a successful business don't see it as work. It's something that you really enjoy. So I think that's the difference.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Candace. And I really think that it's appealing that you can sort of schedule your events around your own, what if you want to take a vacation a certain weekend in the summer, you're going to X that out on your calendar.
Yeah, your vacation is going to be that much more enjoyable as well. When everyone else that you know is working on August 15th, Saturday, and you're somewhere fabulous with your friends or your family or all alone by yourself, it'll be that much sweeter.
With about 10 minutes left, and we will go over the hour time slot because we wanted to make sure we got to go through each of these topics with you in great detail, but we want to get to your questions as well. Also, if we aren't able to get to your question over the webinar, we will absolutely respond to you via email, so no worries about that. I have a question from Yanni Soto. They're wondering, how possible or profitable is it to do event planning and or staging decor for real estate properties showings?
I think that's a great question. I've actually been asked to do that before, and I've never taken advantage of that. It's come across my desk a few times since I've been in business over the past 8 years. I do think there's a market for it. It's just something I think that would require a little bit further research on your part. I know event planners who do that. I know event planners and decorators who also decorate for Christmas, people's homes. So there's a lot of unique little offshoots of business that you can pursue. But if somebody's asking you to do it and they're willing to pay the fee that you've requested, I see no problem with that.
Okay, interesting. That's something that I've never even thought of, getting into real estate staging, but I guess if you have those skills as an event decorator, it does make sense. Okay, well, why don't we go on to the next question? And this is from Tia, and it is, how stressful is it being an event planner?
That's a great question. I think that there are times where it's exceptionally stressful. And if you're not a person who can manage your stress, then this may be a career option that you might want to think a little bit deeper on. It's absolutely a stressful career, but it's a very rewarding one. I think the highest points of stress for me are just making sure that the client is satisfied. So making sure that they're happy with the end result. And I also feel as though if you don't get stressed out over, making sure that everything's perfect, then you may have lost sight of why you're here. It's extremely important to me that my clients are happy, and I get nervous. I wouldn't say stressed, but I get very nervous before an event because I want to make sure that things go well, and that's because I really care. I care about the product that I'm producing, and I care about whatever event it is, whether it's a wedding or someone's business that they're launching. It's all extremely important, and you have no do-overs. So you have one chance to get it right and to make it successful. So, that causes a bit of nervousness and it causes stress. But the key is being able to swallow your stress and get the job done. And that's something that I'm proud to say that I can do very easily. I don't think a client or a vendor would have ever known that I was stressed and under any circumstance, because I make an absolute point to never show stress. And that's very important, because if the event planner is stressed out, the client is going to be like, oh my God, what's going on? My event planner is stressed out, something must be wrong. So it's really important to be able to manage your stress in a variety of different situations.
That's an excellent point. That's a really good point, Candace. Thank you.
Thanks.
Now I have one question that I actually can answer. Nisha wanted to know if she has to have experience in the field before applying for the program, and the answer is no, actually. You don't have to have any experience in event and wedding planning. That's sort of the whole idea of the program, is to start out from the very beginning, to walk you through a complete introduction into the industry, all the way to knowing how to charge for your services, etc. So not to where you don't have to have any experience to apply for the program.